Hi guys, I'm Jon Rhodes. I'm one of the co-founders of Paper. We are, like Mel says, a user research and design studio. We design things like websites and apps and software, and we had a go at doing a chatbot. It's worth saying that as Paper, we're pretty new. We've been doing this work for quite a while. We set up Paper about 8 months ago, and when we set up, we just wanted to do things a little bit differently. And one of the things that we did do is we ring-fence about 20% of our time to spend on non-client stuff, so stuff that doesn't pay the bills. And part of that 20% of the time, we thought we'll have a go at R&D projects. And what I'm talking about today is our first one of them. So today, I'm talking about, can you design a chatbot quickly? Does it meet user needs? I'll come on to them in a bit more detail later, and why context is important, and all this through the story of the car park. This building is called Globeworks. It's where we've got a studio. It's just on the outskirts of Sheffield. It's an old cutlery factory, apparently one of the first in the world, and it's a Grade 2 star listed building. And that is one of the car parks. On the floor, you can see some cobbles, and because of the restrictions of Grade 2 star listedness, it means you can't touch those cobbles. You can't put lines on, you can't mark out parking spaces or anything like that. And that causes a problem, and that's a problem. So that first picture I took at 7 o'clock one morning when I got into work early. I took that picture one lunchtime last week, and that's how the car park looks every single day. It's really easy to explain the problem. That is the only way in and out of the car park. It's a little narrow archway. So as an example, if you're that car, to get out, you've got to ask those 4 vehicles to move and find the owners of it. And we've been at Globeworks for about a couple of weeks. We've been seeing this crap from our window day in, day out. So we set ourselves a bit of a challenge. That challenge is, can we do something to help Globeworks out? As we do with everything in our day jobs, we always start a thing by talking to people, and this was no different. So we put these flyers in all the pigeonholes of all the businesses at Globeworks, and it effectively says, can you spare us a few minutes to have a chat? And we spoke to 5 businesses. A bit of a theme came back, which is comments like this. Someone saying, I get blocked in, I don't know what to do. And someone else saying, if I get blocked in after reception closes, I literally have no idea what to do. And part of what we do, part of our job, is translating what people say into what they mean, which are often vastly different. And we translated this into people saying parking shit or politely saying parking shit. And from there, we had a user need. So a user need is something that we live and breathe, but I appreciate and understand that everyone might not have heard of it. It's fairly self-explanatory. It's the need of a user, the need of someone that's going to be using the thing that you're trying to design. It's not a woolly requirement. It's not a senior stakeholder shouting and saying, I want that. It's something that something needs. And we write them in a format called the user story. So for this, we had, as a tenant at Globeworks, I need to know the phone number of the person blocking me in so that I can get the phone number and give them a call. And we were off. We had the start of our first product. We were that happy that we wrote it on a post-it note, took a picture, put it on Instagram, and we were off. And that product is a chatbot that manages the car park at Globeworks. And the idea is that you can put in the registration details of the car that's blocking you in and get the phone number out pretty quickly. And that's what we were aiming to do. And its job is to stop this. This is Angry John locked in the car park, swearing at his phone because he's blocked in and wants to get out. The serious side is you could be stuck trying to get to a meeting, or you could be trying to pick your kids up from school, or go to an appointment, something like that. And these are a couple of pictures from our early design work. Just some very quick, very simple storyboarding things about how a chatbot might interact with someone. Dead simple stuff. We found a free online tool that you can do comic book style stuff, and we just had to play around with it. And we called the chatbot Kev. For two reasons. One, it's a great name. And two is we wanted it to appear human, like you were talking to someone, and we didn't want to give it a robotic name or a number or anything like that. We just wanted to give it the name of someone that you meet in a pub, so we called it Kev. And this is the first prototype of Kev. It's just done in a Google document, basic stuff, but it's the start of the script of the chatbot, and it's just detailing the interactions of how Kev could talk to you if you're trying to find the details of the car to get out. Very simple stuff, but it works. That's the first prototype. The actual chatbot is built using something called BotKit that holds the chatbot, but you access it via something called Slack, which, if you've not heard of it, it's like an instant messaging system. Loads of people use it, it's very clever, and that's what we used to deliver this. 2 days later, we had Kev working. So we spent about 1 day speaking to the businesses, getting together all the registration details, and then we spent about 1 day actually building it. And this was at the time that we were set up paper, so they weren't full days either. We were trying to grow a business and start a business and stuff like that. But yeah, 2 days. And this is Kev working on Slack. You kick it off. You kick it off by saying hey or hello or something like that. It's got northern dialect in there, so if you say alright or now then, well, it's fine. It asks you a few questions. You put in your registration plate, and it tells you, it will tell you the phone number, the name of the company for the person blocking you in. Basic stuff, but that's Kev working. Caveated that it works as long as the registration number's in the database. But that's Kev. Does it work? Yeah. It does. So if you're logged onto Slack, it takes less than a minute to get a phone number out. And we didn't set any acceptance criteria or anything like that, but we were happy with a minute, less than a minute. Put your stuff in, get a phone number out, less than a minute, we were chuffed. What we do at Paper is test things with people. So we do usability testing, and Kev was no different. Hopefully the audio on a few clips is all right.
Nice and friendly, and it feels like you're actually speaking to a person, maybe.
Cool.
It's not just the sort of cold language of a robot.
Okay. She's saying, from memory, it's quite like not talking to a robot, it's like talking to a person. We were happy with that. This person.
For me personally, I love it because it helps me with the car park issue.
It's saying that they use it every day and it helps out no end. And this next one about language.
Yeah, it's nice and friendly, and it feels like you're actually speaking to a person, maybe.
It's again saying that you're talking to a
Just
person.
the sort of cold language of a robot.
So successful. Ooh no. We made a pretty big mistake, really. And that mistake is that we jumped really fast into the delivery mechanism, the platform in which you get Kev. And that thing that I said a minute ago that's a really good thing, if you're logged into Slack, it takes less than a minute to get a phone number out. I think you know what that is. If you log into Slack, we put a huge barrier in front of Kev. So to get on Slack, you need to be invited, or you need to request access, you need to create an account, you need to sign in. The whole idea about this is that you're using it on a phone in a car park, so really you should be downloading the app as well. Therefore you've got to sign in, you've got to take a bit of time to get used to it. That's a big ask, and yeah, we didn't really consider that. So in the first week, 35 people signed up for Slack, and we were really chuffed with that. That's a lot of people in Globeworks. Now, there's 6 people, and 3 of them work at paper. So yeah, not great. We did some more testing for Kev. Volume was going to be the same. This guy.
Initially. Because I know it's a bot, I don't really want to start chatting with it.
It's saying he's used it before, he's used Kev before, he knows it's a bot, he doesn't give a shit about that, he just wants to put in a registration number. And we saw one before, you have to kick it in by saying hello or right or something like that, and that frustrates him. Exactly the same comment from this one.
Sometimes I'd just like to just put the reg in and not have to have a chat with them.
She's saying exactly the same thing. Sometimes if you use it more than once, I don't want to chat, I just want to get cracking with it. And then this last one about language.
What's it end with?
i5.
It ends with high five, and he says, I have no idea what to reply to a robot that just says high five.
Is that cool or not? Not
It's a
really.
valid comment. Stuff we've learned. We jumped way too fast into using Slack. I'll come on to something else in a minute, but yeah, way too fast for that. And the aim of all this has to be to meet the user needs. And that's because user needs rule everything. So if we think back to that user need that I had before, which is, as a tenant at Globeworks, I need to know the phone number of the person that's locking me in so I can get a phone number and give them a call. If we think of that user need, then maybe something as simple as a business card on the dashboard of a car does it. It's got my name, it's got my phone number, it's got a company. There's zero barrier to all this. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You can just get out your phone and give someone a call. But Kev isn't dead. He's fine. He's in my pocket. He's working absolutely fine. Just needs a bit more thought, really. And this was a brain dump of everything. It's not meant to be legible. I spent about 2 minutes thinking about what Kev could be used for in the sense of Globeworks, and there's tons. You could get it so it reports maintenance issues. You could get it so that you've got a visitor notified, something like that. You could have it so that contracts are automatically told when your contract's expiring. There's a lot of businesses in Globeworks, and we should know what each of us do, and we don't, because if we did, we'd be able to pass across work. We should be able to find vacancies, just so much stuff. And this was all what Kev could do. So whilst we went too fast with Kev on Slack, because it's built using the bot kit thing, which is the ChatBot thing, it can easily be swapped to work via SMS or text messaging, or Facebook, or Skype, or other things. And can easily be done to do that. So stuff to take away. Yeah, it can be really quick to test a prototype. It took us 2 days in between growing a business. And that first prototype was just a Google document. So you can do it on a Google document or pen and paper. It doesn't need to be all singing, all dancing, clickable stuff. And testing it, we collared 5 people. But you could go to a coffee shop and do testing like that. It's dead simple. Context is huge. So you need to be thinking about where users are based and what devices they're using. And stuff like if they're already accessing different systems. So some of the businesses in Globeworks use Skype, which is similar to Slack, so therefore straight away, why would they sign up to another instant messaging system? You need to think about whether people are tech savvy. The context is huge, it just needs a lot thrown in. And then the language thing. If the videos are working, the copy and the content in those videos is basically two things. Some people are saying they like the chattiness of the chatbot, they like that it's human. And then the flip side is people just want the bot side of it. They don't want to talk to something, they just want to get information out. I think there's a thin line. And Kev just needs a bit of work. He's halfway there, but he just needs a little bit of tweaking. And then this last thing is the whole idea is that we spent 2 days on this. We didn't spend a lot of time, hardly any money whatsoever. And it's okay. You try it out. If it works, great. If not, change it. And that's kind of like the message for this, really. Cheers.